my best memories of my childhood was being with my Aunt Helen. She was all love. She always was smiling. She sang about everything. It didn't matter what we were doing, she'd make a song up about it. I just remember her face, and I remember the feeling of her being with me, of her touching my hand, of her touching my cheek. And there's something about Aunt Helen that I still can feel that connection when we talk about it. And I was just we both looked so happy to be with each other. She's one of those people I think that have always been in my life. My father was real unpredictable and had all kinds of issues, and my mother was depressed. So when I put myself in that apartment, that was the main fear. I had some fear of physical things too. I had a fear of the end of the world because this nun told us that it was going to end in 1965. By the time it was 1965, I didn't believe that anymore. But I was really scared of that too. We had to get under our desks in case there was an atomic bomb coming. I've always loved art. From the time I was a little girl, I loved art. I didn't get any opportunity to take any classes in art, even though I wanted to in high school, because I was on this academic track and I didn't have enough time to do it. I would just play around with art from the time I was really little. I am originally from Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, which is the capital, and people know it as the Speedway 500. Many people have heard of that, if they're from the United States. In Michigan, I moved here when I was I've been here, somewhere between 50 years or so. I left for a year or two and then came back again. I really like it here. Don and I were good friends. We worked together, volunteered together at a place called The Listening Ear, and we became very close. It was a very intimate group of people there anyway. It was a place where we could get close pretty quickly. And we were friends for quite a while. And then we took this trip to Chicago. And it was kind of a magical trip, filled with music and plays and art. And things changed. We began a romantic relationship. We began to be partners. So I was with Don for not that long in my life. When you think of my life, I mean, probably more than a tenth, no more than a tenth of my life, at the most. But the impact that Don had on my life and on my being was absolutely huge. So we were together. Don was a musician. I'm always attracted to musicians because I think it's the part I don't have in my life. I mean, I'm not real musically inclined, although I love music. I'm attracted to people who are into music, and he was a vocalist. He'd sing, and I loved to hear him sing. We just got closer and closer, but Don was sick. He had AIDS. I had no idea he was going to die. I mean, intellectually, yes. Emotionally, no. So it was a huge, powerful time in my life. We both loved all kinds of art. We went to museums together, we went to concerts together, we went to plays together. People gave us all these tickets for plays. We were going to plays and musical kinds of things 2 or 3 times a week. So I was really inspired by art at that time. So then I'd taken just a few little classes, more like drawing classes, nothing intuitive, just drawing and having fun with art. And I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a huge part of my life. So then after Don died, I found myself needing to express myself through my art. I tap into so much when I'm painting. I tap into the present, what's going on right now. I tap into the past, my childhood, and even possibly before my childhood. I tap in sometimes to other things that are going on in the world or in people that are in my life. I have been known to tap into things that have not happened yet. I was painting, and in several of my paintings, this person evolved, and this person kept coming back. And it really didn't seem to be anybody who had been in my life. At first, I thought it was Don, my husband, who died, but it wasn't. And then later, I actually met this person. And it's become a very special person in my life. So that was amazing to me, that you can actually tap into something that hasn't really happened yet. So it's universal what we tap into. It can be most anything. And that's one of the most powerful things about doing this type of painting. I've always loved art. From the time I was a little girl, I loved art. I didn't get any opportunity to take any classes in art. I would just play around with art from the time I was really little. But I really started to fully immerse myself more in art when I went out to California for a year. I took a sabbatical for a year just because of my husband had died and I just needed time for myself. And I took all these classes. And one of the classes I took was on making mandalas. And mandalas are just like circular shapes. We think of them as kind of spiritual. I think when people think of mandalas, they think of, like the flowers and different things around them. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be anything from your life. You can put anything you want. Basically, it's enclosed in a circle. All of these were extremely intuitive. And I just made that connection. And since then, I've not done that much art that hasn't been intuitive. I do it every now and then, but most of my art is based on my intuition. So many powerful things have come up in my art as I've done it. After Don died, I threw myself into it. So I started doing these mandalas, and it was on black paper with pencil and illuminating them. It's this woman named Judith and Cornell, and I really loved it. And so I really started doing those over and over and over again. And instead of, I had to do an assignment for another class I was taking where I was supposed to just write like vignettes about my life. And I chose to do them in mandalas. If I have a big emotion, I may decide to do art, but often when I'm just saying, okay, it's time for me to paint, I don't start with an emotion. I start with the color, I start with the shape, I start with the figure, and it goes from there. And then it might bring up emotion. So it's like once I immerse myself into the painting, then I start feeling the emotion. So it's the same thing, but a little bit different. When I paint, and these figures appear, these colors appear, often I have no sense of what they're really about. And sometimes it takes me a while. Like I might go back to a painting and say, oh, I know what that was. Like I thought that was going to be a mountain, and it ended up being these figures who were protecting me. And I would say I paint about me, about things that are pertinent to me. Sometimes I paint about more universal things. One time when I was doing my training in art, creative, I'll go back to that. When I was doing my training, I did this huge picture. And it really wasn't about me. I think I've always felt connected to art. When I was a little girl, of course, I didn't even know what art was when I was a toddler. But I've always been very visual. And I've always loved looking at nature. I've loved looking at people. I love looking at the faces of the people I love. I remember looking at my Aunt Helen's face. Not exactly art, but it was kind of like the beginning of that connection. But basically, I think my connection to art was more of a feeling than anything that I was actually doing. And as I'm thinking about it, it just makes me smile, some of the visual images that I created as a child. There were times when I felt, there were times when I was just alone because I was with my aunts and my grandma, and I would go outside and I would look at all the bugs. I would just marvel at how beautiful they were. And there were all kinds of painting, like old masterpiece kind of painting, watercolor painting, art, tempera painting, oil painting. There's painting that's realistic. There's painting that's impressionistic. There have been so many forms of painting through the ages. Intuitive painting is basically a little different from all of these in that what intuitive painting is, it comes from yourself. When you do a painting, you come from asking yourself a question. And it might be a specific question, or it might just be, what's showing up today? What's going to show up in my painting? I don't know the answer to that. It's just a question. And so I just start by choosing either a color or a shape or an image, and I just go from there. And whatever comes out comes out. It's from inside of me. It's from my intuition. And I might think I'm going to be painting a dog, but I might find out that the dog's really a horse. It just happens as I move along. As I move along, it happens. The brush and I are really connected. It might not be a brush, it might be my fingers, but for today we'll just call it a brush. So what I do with the brush is I take it over and I choose what color I want. I put the brush into the color, I bring it over to my paper, and I just kind of let my body, along with the brush, decide where am I going to start. And I will decide, or the brush will decide. It might be the middle, it might be the bottom, wherever it goes. I might have an idea of what form I want to make. I start usually with that, and I may think, okay, I need to make a spiral. But I might find the brush moving out from the spiral and making something else completely. I'm not intellectually thinking that, it's just what happens. So it's almost like I said that the brush and I become one. What I have found is as time has gone on, that's been easier for me. At the beginning, I wanted much more control of the brush. I wanted much more control of my paintings. Now, mostly, I can allow myself to follow the brush, which works best for bringing meaning and bringing the art that I really find meaningful. Definitely, every time I paint, I find that critic coming out. It's such a part of us. It's been there, I think, since we've been really little, when we were told things aren't just quite right. So eliminating that is not really possible because it's just part of me. But I can certainly work with it. I've changed it. Again, it's been a year since I started painting, but I just let myself be with that feeling. That's how I pretty much address the inner critic. And like I said, it's gotten better. And it will always be there. And I'm so grateful that I have this message of not letting the critic overcome what's meant to be, of not letting the outside world say you're not enough. When I offer these groups, the intuitive art groups for women, I have a structure that we follow. It's pretty free and it can be loose, but generally, when people come in, we talk about what this process is, what it means to be a painter of intuitive art, how we work with some of the blocks that we have, how we work with the judgmental parts that come up. We experience all that, and then we talk about how we're going to run the group. And in each group, we generally start with getting together as a group and just chatting, and maybe bringing something in from the last week that's meaningful. And then we get together and do some movement together, some stretching, do a little dance party with some music. We're loosening up and getting ready with all this. And the final thing we do is a meditation that will lead into whatever process we're doing. The processes may be intuitive painting, but we've done other things too, like creating mandalas, making masks, doing sculptures. So they encompass a great deal of media.
My favorite part was being able to work with Pat, my cousin, and we're very close. And I had never done the intuitive painting process before. So having someone that I actually am close to and love and who has done the intuitive painting process herself for many years was very helpful and really helped me get into it.
I had the pleasure of doing Pat Taylor's intuitive art group a number of years ago, and I had the most phenomenal time. If you have a chance to do it, I would urge you to absolutely sign up. Pat opened the world to me of all different types of art and made me think differently about creating. She also gave me permission to just be me, to do my own thing, and that nothing is wrong and that everything is my creation.
I found it really meaningful and a great way to like get into your inner, like, I guess, soul or heart instead of like trying to make a perfect portrait or something. It got me to switch off my brain from whatever activity I was doing before we started painting and go into, to meditate, to put my head in a new space. And that was really.
I love the group. I love Pat's instruction, her gentleness, her guidance, and just her soft touch with everyone. That nothing's wrong, everything is right, and you get to explore and play and have fun.
So then when we're finished with the experience, what we do is we gather together, and if people feel comfortable, they share what they've created we share with each other. And after that, we just chat a little bit about our experience of the day, and we end our group. My experience in sharing art with others is a gift. It's a gift to be able to share what has meant so much to me with other people, and particularly women I've shared with a lot, to feel the sense of empowerment, a sense of freedom that comes along with it. As I'm experiencing this, I feel it with the people I've taught, and they've, when I've done videotapes with them, they've often experienced how much permission they felt, and I love giving that permission. Generally, I don't name my paintings. After I've done a painting and I look at it later, new things come up. It's always changing. It's an evolving process of what they might mean. However, there have been a few times when my paintings have named themselves. A lot of what I did in my art had to do with him and my relationship to him. And it still does. I mean, my art often has to do with relationships in this world, in this life. I responded to somebody on Facebook on this art therapy post, and I said to her, she had done a painting with the person inside of her. She'd been abused and was expressing that. And I said, art is our therapist. Art can be our therapist. Of course, you may need more, but art is how I can work through so many things. It puts me in a state of meditation, which I can't get to any other way. So it's been beautiful, it's been wonderful, it's been hard sometimes, and Don was definitely a catalyst in my being with my intuitive art. A lot of what I did in my art had to do with him and my relationship to him, and it still does. I mean, my art often has to do with relationships in this world, in this life. So anyway, up to now, he, I think, has been a huge inspiration in my getting in touch with my own being through my art, getting in touch with who I am, what I'm working through, because it worked.